Shalom, shalom. This week we are reading Parshat Shoftim. And in Parshat Shoftim, one of the things discussed is the Arei Miklat, the cities of refuge. Um, and cities of refuge are a place that are designated for people who have killed somebody unintentionally and they need a place to run to for safety in case a family member would want to kill them as revenge, a life for a life. They're so overcome with emotion when their loved one was killed and they want to kill that person. So, because it wasn't his fault, God thinks it's not just that he should be killed, and therefore he has a place to go, a city of refuge. And it's fascinating because this is linked with Chodesh Elul, which we have entered into last Shabbat. And in Chodesh Elul, there are many acronyms that the sages have used to put forth certain ideas that are very connected with this month of Elul. So one of the ideas has to do with Arei Maklat. It's actually not found in this week's Parsha of Shoftim, but it's in Mishpatim, both dealing with Mishpat, Shoftim, and Mishpatim, of these laws. And in that pasuk, the acronym that there is used is Ina liyado v'samti lacha. So what this pasuk is saying is that if this person killed, but he didn't do it out of hatred, he wasn't chasing after, he wasn't premeditated, but somehow God says, Ina liyado, God brought it to his hand that it happened. He says, with Samti Lacha, I put for you, and the rest of the pasuk is these places, these cities of refuge, a place where the unintentional killer can go to so that he is not killed in return. Now, the month of Elul, why is it compared to the city of refuge? It doesn't really seem to have much connected, but it really is extremely connected because during this whole entire year, like Elul is the last month before the beginning of the new year. And during the year, we have done many, many things wrong. And a lot of the things that we've done wrong, we don't feel like it's our fault. We did it because we had no uh, control because of X, Y, Z, and there's a myriad of reasons. And the thing is that even though we feel like we didn't do certain things on purpose, and we know that we did wrong, but we have still, in the law in Judaism, is when you've done something wrong, whether you did it on purpose or not, you have to make some form of atonement. You have to recognize it and take certain steps to rectify what you've done regardless. And even more importantly, and I think this is why it's compared to murder and having to run for refuge, is when we've done something wrong, we've made bad decisions. Every time we've made a bad decision and we've harmed a piece of ourself, a potential of ourself, that could have done something good. And perhaps even our thought process was not good. And sometimes one bad thing, whether we had control over it or not, can lead to another bad thing. And it's so important for us, especially at the end of the year when we're about to go into Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. We want things to have a new year that's better and good. It's very important to take this month, which is given to us as a refuge from our past, to think, to do all this introspection, and to try to understand that even though we might not have done X, Y, and Z on purpose, what led to it? How can we distance ourselves from situations where we won't get into that kind of predicament anymore? Like the example that's given in the Chumash is somebody was chopping down a tree with his axe and flew out of his hand and he killed somebody. Okay, so maybe what he could have done is he could have checked his axe before he started using it, make sure the screws are on tightly, that it wasn't going to come, however an axe is made, that the sharp part wasn't going to come off the handle, or that he was holding it tightly, or check if anyone's in the area. There's a whole bunch of things he could have done, maybe, to make sure that this thing didn't happen, to be more careful and more cognizant of everything that we do. Who's around us? What are we doing? How are we using it? To be mindful. And if we're mindful, then maybe we won't get into bad situations as much as we do. And how can we make sure that we make better choices for the next year, which will lead for a better year? Forget about this, punishment and reward, which, we're looking at as God going to strike us down with lightning. But how can we change? How can we change to make sure that we have a better year just for ourselves? And that's a big one. And so when we've made bad choices, there's a part of us every time, that potential, that we have killed. And we didn't do it intentionally. We don't want to make bad decisions. We don't want to be a lesser us. So that was unintentional when we did it. We had no intention of that, meaning harming ourselves further. And if we don't fix it, we will be our worst enemy. We will come to destroy ourselves. And it's really a good comparison, to someone who accidentally kills somebody else. Because at times I think we really are two separate people. The one of us who, wants everything to be really great and do the right thing all the time. And then there's the other one of us who sometimes, gets lazy or careless, or whatever it is, and doesn't do the right thing. So we have to do better. We have to use this month to think how we can potentially, do better. And I think a big part of that, as I said, is mindfulness. And that is a big theme that's going on in Devarim. Is I spoke about how many times the word Hayom is used today, to pay attention to what you're doing today, right now, and make sure, analyze as best as we can, is everything about it and what the outcome will possibly be. And that's why it also says in this week's Parsha, it talks about, Hashem says, Tiyah Tamim, to be wholehearted with me. And this comes after talking about how God, tells us that we shouldn't go to all these false things, necromancers and stargazers, all these people that read the future. Because God's saying, don't focus so much on all the other things and you're not paying attention to me. Be wholehearted, be tamim with me right now. When you're doing something, if you connect with your higher self, the God within you, and make sure you do it right, things will be much better. So to be wholehearted in every moment of every day, connect with the God in you and with everything that is the best that we can be. And if we do that, it's really interesting. In this week's parsha, when it talks about the Arei Maklat, it says, because if the person, the relative, your dof, will run after you because he will be so upset and he'll want to kill you. And it's this rodef, this word to chase, is also, it's in this parsha twice. It's also in the parsha when we're, urged, it says, tzedek tirdof, that we should pursue, same word, pursue justice. And, it's really hard because in this world, a lot of times we feel like things will never be just, especially like let's say a murderer who had a victim, I mean, who had a family member murdered. He was running after to kill the other guy because he feels like that's justice and he wants to kill him. And, it's difficult for him because in our law, then that person has a city of refuge and he can't touch him. He can't do that. And maybe that person feels like there'll never be justice in this world. But what God is saying is, you might not think that there's justice in this world, and you might, therefore want to take justice yourself. But no, you have to pursue, you have to pursue justice in the way that I say it. And then in the end, God will make sure that everything, it's for him to make sure everything works out. It's just in our hands to do tzedek and mishpat, to do the right thing. And God says in this week's parsha, the right thing is to appoint judges and policemen and let them take care of it. Because when we're hot-headed, we are not going to make the right decisions, even though we think that that might be justice. And so I think that that's really how it ties in to Arei Maklat, ties into Elul. This is really a wonderful opportunity for us to take refuge from all the things that we've done wrong to harm ourselves, and to take stock and to try and live, a more wholehearted life of mindfulness and being in the moment, and making good decisions. And with that, no doubt, if we do that, we will have a much better year ahead. So I bless you all. Wish you a Shabbat Shalom.